make one correction. My dad wasn't in the Army. He built those evil power plants all over the country. So we had to move every few years because power plants aren't built too close together. That's true. There's electricity in this country in several states. All right. Talk about America the Beautiful. Thousands of enthusiastic Americans standing in front of Colorado's Gold Dome Capitol with Purple Mountain's majesty behind. Reminds me that we live in one of the most beautiful places on earth, in the greatest nation on the face of the planet. Thank you so much for coming here today to stand up for America, our children, and our grandchildren. Also, we need to give a big round of applause to the Broomfield 912 Project who set all this up today. Thank you, guys. This Granny Patriot Pit Bull and constitutional watchdog is here, as many of you are today, to save my beloved country and to make it a better place for my kids and my grandkids. I am not going to leave this mess for the next generation. Our opponents accuse us of being negative and often saying no. But all good parents say no, especially when the kids are looting all the candy stores, toy shops, banks, businesses, spending all our money, maxing out all our credit cards. It's about time we said no to these children and their juvenile delinquent friends in Washington, D.C. and here in Colorado. Time to stand up and proclaim, not on my watch. Okay, this is an interactive speech. You're going to help me out here. Our opponents, every time I hear them say, healthcare now, our reasoned reply should be, freedom forever. So let's practice. I ask, what are we for? You yell, freedom forever. You ready? What are we for?
Freedom forever!
What are we for?
Freedom forever!
Great. Now, I'm going to ask you that again. You remember, you're supposed to say freedom forever, okay? Since most politicians seem to be driven by the polls, let's do a quick one for those who ought to be listening to us. But by the way, our governor skirted off to Grand Junction today, so we got to be pretty loud for him to hear us. You ready? How many of you support or belong to the 912 Project? Woo! How many of you support the Tea Party movement? How many of you were paid to be here today? Oh, you were not paid to be here. Good. Okay. How many of you trust your own decisions over the bureaucrats? Final question of this poll. How many of you plan to vote the bums out of office? Hey bums, did you hear us? Well, you better start listening, because you're going to hear from tens of millions of us on November the 2nd, 2010. The Colorado 912 project, although originally inspired by Glenn Beck, is very Glenn. It's just a huge voting block of like-minded, freedom-loving American individuals who are finding each other and banding together with similar groups in order to restore common sense in government and our republic under God. We are the champions and defenders of the United States Constitution, because those in Washington, D.C. who have sworn to defend it are not. I am so fed up with politicians across the spectrum picking and choosing which parts of the Constitution they're going to follow and which parts they're going to ignore. I'm fed up with lawyers and judges trying to find and argue ways around it. Most of the major problems we face as a nation today could be solved if we would just go back to following this divinely inspired, unprecedented, and unequaled revolutionary document as it has been amended. By the way, it's been amended 27 times, and 500,000 of our citizens died getting it right. Nothing is perfect, but if the majority of this country doesn't like something in the Constitution, then there's a process and a way for us to amend it rather than ignore it when the Constitution becomes inconvenient for whichever presidential administration, majority of Congress, or political party happens to be in power.